Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you for that response. I really appreciate that. You know, the workplace consulting framework, I'm just going to give you a very high level, very rapid look at that. And then I'm going to turn it over to the people who are actually doing that work. Because it's real people making a difference. And this is about injury prevention and injury management. That's what we do. Cultural change, organizational change. And if you think about backing up the injury chain, you've heard of that earlier today. You look at this slide that's on the wall here, or on the screen, you know, if you can prevent that workplace injury, you got full control. No cost to you, your people are on the job, productive and healthy. But the more complicated it gets, in other words, the more time you take to get that injured worker back to work, the more complexity. And if you keep going down that injury chain, you may get to that full ERB or partial earnings replacement benefit, and you don't get to play anymore, but you sure get to pay. So when I think of the coaching framework, it's about collaboration. It's at senior levels of organizations. It starts there. Union executive, frontline employees. Who are the people that want to make a difference? That's who we engage. And it's handpicked. Here's what the framework kind of looks like. It's just a picture. You know, but it's about bringing value. It's about bringing experience. I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of organizations, and it's a privilege for me to do that. Absolutely a privilege. Because the organizations I work with, they're very smart people. They're good people. You're going to meet a very fantastic person here in just one moment or so. There's 5 phases, and it's very simple. It's create that visibility. This is something from the Northeast facility of Corrections Justice, Nova Scotia. Because I don't know what you do. I don't know how you do it when I first knock on your door. But together we're going to create that visibility. Together we're going to start that journey. Because you've got to pick a change team. Who are those change teams? And those change teams better have union executive, senior leaders involved, frontline employees involved. They have to be part of that initiative. We call them, we have names for them, like the sponsor, you know, so that's somebody very senior in the organization that can open doors. The co-facilitator would be the champion, so somebody like me who would work side by side with that change team. And then the members. We got lots of tools, lots of great tools which we will help you apply. Because I don't know your gaps, but we're going to find out together. Once you know your gaps, you build a plan. And you communicate that plan. Very, very important to do that. Measured goals. And here's where it starts to get really interesting, because we got lots of great tools like workshops, education, that if you have a targeted gap, we'll help you close that gap through education, through engagement, through employee participation, and building solutions. And we work with parallel change teams. So you may have your initial coalition of change, but maybe there's a gap. Maybe you have a stay at work, return to work gap. I don't know. So you'll create another subcommittee from that initial change team that'll run in parallel. Depends on how many gaps you might want to take on. Well, that pretty much sums it up what I'm going to say, just taking a moment. But again, these are real people. I was very privileged to be a part of, this is a Minister of Justice, Lena Metlis-Diab. She awarded the corrections team an award of excellence for changing the culture, the influence across this province. And I have just a tremendous respect for this organization. You know, you think of what they do every day to help not only themselves, the offenders, the community, the province. And that's this team. So without further ado, let me introduce Gina McDermott, Deputy Superintendent from Cape Breton. Come on up there, girl.
Thanks, Bob. Well, I guess when Bob took on this challenge, and it was certainly a big one because it's not like many people knock on corrections door and say, hey, I can help you, and everybody says, come on in. So that being said, obviously it was certainly a big challenge. And in order for this to work, and our journey started on March of 2013, and that journey came with Bob approaching us to offer his help, and then of course that was well received. And when you talk about change happening, it does start at the top, and there's many layers to it. So our executive director, Bill Smith, and our director of corrections, adult correctional facilities, Sean Kelly, both embraced this process and opened that door and said, we do need the help, and we're open to it. So then it's about how are you going to implement that and get everybody else on board. And as is well known with corrections, we're often known to be a group of people who were a little pessimistic and not always thinking that, other people coming and telling us how to do our business is in our best interest. So needless to say, it was a bit of a hard sell. So then it starts with them. How are we going to take this program and this opportunity and capitalize on it? And so then the next group is we need to work together with the union. And they were able to speak to the members of the NSGEU, and from all levels of the NSGEU as well, they seen this as a great opportunity to help their members. And so together a partnership was developed. Because at the end of the day, as a group of management, we want what's in the best interest of our employees, and so does the union. So therefore, obviously, we have the same goal. So then how do we achieve that? And so knowing that we had issues and we had things to deal with, everybody said, we'll work together on this process. So there's the start of the journey. And so then it starts with, it's fine for the executive director or the director to stand there and say, you know what, this is important and we have to do this work. But then it's about the action piece that you talked about. So when you talk about the action, okay, well, how do you put that into action? Well, one of the best ways is the performance appraisal process. And everyone has a performance appraisal every year. And when a director says to his group of superintendents, this is on your performance appraisal, then that becomes action. Because then it's up to them to action that. And then, of course, if it's on a superintendent's performance appraisal, it's going to be on mine as a deputy. So it keeps going down. And then for us as deputies, we're going to put that on the performance appraisal of the captains, who are the frontline leaders, who have the direct relationship with the employees. So then it becomes, this isn't just my goal, it's everybody's goal. And then you're working together as a cohesive group. So that was very important, and that was the direction that they took, which has been successful. So then when it comes to us and say, okay, you have to action that. Now the next thing is to decide who's your team, which can be very important because you're working with the union and they're going to be represented. You're working with management and we're going to be represented. And then we have to have employees. And when you look at our employees, it's very important that you choose the proper people to be on a team if you want it to be successful. So what we did is we took people from all different parts of our organization. So we had cooks, we had people from healthcare, we had maintenance, we had correctional officers, and we had union people, and we had managers, and then we have Bob, and we have our director, and we have everybody working together as one group. So when it started off, the first thing we did is sent a survey out to the employees to say, what are the areas that we can improve upon? What are your concerns? How safe do you feel your environment is? And how can that be improved upon? And so miraculously, we had 100%, at the Cape Breton Correctional Facility, we had 100% response. In the other facilities, they had 92%. So that's massive because if we look at we do the employee engagement surveys every year, and our response rate isn't that high. So that told us that safety wasn't just important to us, it was important to the employees as well. So then when you look at that, that sent us the message, and that was a good motivator to us as management to say, wow, the employees are on board with this, and it's up to us to lead. So we started off with a vision. We got our group together, you got the people, we had to make a name, so different groups have different names, and ours was the WCB results team. So we wanted results, and that was our goal, and it was right in the name. And then we had to look at a vision. So the staff worked together, the team worked together, and we came up with a vision, and our vision says, we are excelling in a healthy workplace by working as a team to promote safety, education, empowerment, and a positive culture. So that's a lofty vision, as was our lofty goal that we're working on, for sure. But as you see, we've made some great accomplishments because we received a Minister's Award. And that meant a lot to the people that you see in that picture there. You have Bob standing right next to our director, Sean Kelly. So he's there and he's present and he's leading the team. And that was important. And then you see all of the people who were working on that committee, across representation, because there was some other facilities as well. And these were the leaders, though. So that is a group of people working together for this change. So as I said, the key was to get the proper people there involved, and who were respected by the staff is another important thing. So we can choose people, but that may not be in the best interest of this process, because they have to be people that staff respect, that staff will listen to, that can approach staff and bring other people on board. So that was an important thing to do. We made the commitment, and as a management team and from head office, we made a commitment and follow through on that. So if you start having a process where, you're missing meetings and, management isn't present at the meeting, that sends a message to the employees that we don't really care. So it's important that we are there and that we work just as hard as they do. So originally we did some rapid cycle improvements within the facilities so that staff could see that there was going to be change. And that helped with keeping the ball rolling with the whole process. So we created some committees. And we had JOSH committees in all the facilities, but they weren't functioning properly. And no fault of anyone, but just that, we certainly needed to know a better path. So we did do some seminars. We've done a hazard identification seminar. And as part of that, we created a committee that would do hazard identification, and we've created an informal hazard identification process for within the facility, and then a formal process, which we're currently still working on, so that we created a hazard identification matrix. So we've increased the education on what a hazard is in the workplace and how we're going to address that, and we communicate that out to the staff. We have a communications committee, and part of their mandate is, okay, we're going to work together as a results team. We're partnered up with the different facilities across the province. How are we going to make that work? Well, the key to that is communication. So we had to create a way that we created a shared drive where all facilities could access any of the materials that we were creating. And then we made emails that would go to all the facilities and all the leaders so that everyone was getting the same information at the same time. Also, as part of our communication, we started developing what's called Toolbox Talks. And for us, it's about, let's look at everything that we can look at in our organization, in our facilities, and in our line of work. And let's talk about the safety aspect of that. How can we make this a more safe work environment for you, for me, and for anyone who comes in? Because, we have contractors and we have the public come in. So there's many people that we're responsible for their safety. And so for that, let's talk about safety. So let's talk about safety. If we're going to make it a priority, it has to be put on every agenda. And we made that commitment. So that was another part of our communication piece, is that when we do operations meeting in the morning at the Cape Breton Correction Facility, we talk about if there's any OH&S issues or concerns or any safety concerns, safety is at the top of our agenda. If we talk about it at our JOSH committee meetings, we talk about it at results team. If we have case management meetings, we bring it into every meeting that we're going to have. Safety has to be present on the agenda and in the minds of everybody in that group. And then as well, we've also gotten to the point where we say, okay, communication. People take in communication in many different ways. So if I stand there and I present a toolbox talk at our muster in the morning before the staff are starting their shift, is everybody taking that in the same way? Not necessarily, because as we know, everybody learns differently and that you need many different approaches to communication. So then we started making videos. And, for those who are more about the visual or technology, that has proved to be very successful for them. So, and then now we've moved our group on, so we have both the Burnside facility, Central Nova Scotia Correctional Facility, ourselves, the Yarmouth facility, Southwest Nova Scotia Correctional Facility in Yarmouth, and now the new facility in Northeast has come on board. We share resources. So not everyone has to create a Toolbox Talk because some are already there. Some have done videos. Northeast, the newest member of our team, has just done an amazing job of a video that has been shared across the province. So that has everybody seeing the staff in a video talking about safety in their workplace, which was powerful. So we talked about hazard ID, and then we also, the other committee that we talked about, that we created, was injury management. Because one of the reasons why, it was, let's get on board with this, is if we can prevent injury, and we have a high rate of injury within correctional facilities and within justice, period. And it's a concern, and it's a big concern to the employer because of the cost and because of the operation of the facility and staffing levels, many reasons. And therefore, can we do a better job of managing how we do injury? So we created the Toolbox Talks, we put safety, and we start talking more about safety, and we're trying preventative measures. We've done hazard ID, but we also had to look at, okay, but when that does happen, and a person does get injured, how are we going to deal with that? So we worked together as a team from across the different correctional facilities, and community corrections was involved as well. And we created a stay-at-work, return-to-work program. It was a comprehensive stay-at-work, return-to-work program with a goal of trying to help people stay within the workplace if they can and they're healthy to do so, and if not, then providing them support and returning them to work when they're capable. And it had flow charts, and it had a process for both the WCB part of it, but also the short-term illness. So how we would deal with that. And it was a comprehensive program. Unfortunately for us, we did a lot of work, and the government then has moved to a different program. So we have never really rolled out that program. We have presented it to government to take a look at, to see if they're interested in going forward with the program. But at this point in time, everything's kind of a little bit on hold. But even the processes that we did develop in the stay-at-work, return-to-work program are beneficial for managing the return to work, and we can manage it well within our new supplier. So it's just we're in the growing stages of trying to make that work. And so we hope that they will look at our program and start to integrate that into how we do business. So our most recent workshop was on incident investigation. And it was a bit of an eye-opener for us as managers because we brought a team together of our staff and we wanted to train them on incident investigation. And in our department, there's often incidents. And so we're used to dealing with incidents within a correctional facility when they involve offenders. So two offenders get in a fight, you get called to a code, our staff respond, they do a great job and they manage that. But we took them to an incident investigation workshop where it was about safety, and we were shocked to see that they didn't respond as effectively as they normally would if it was in a correctional facility and if it was dealing with the issues that we deal with in a corrections facility. And so that being said, we were a little taken back by that, and we're working on a process now to make them feel more comfortable and better equipped to deal with if there's an injury at work, if there's some kind of a workplace incident that involves your coworkers, to be just as efficient dealing with that than if it is one that's dealing with the offenders, because that's primarily what our training's about. So some of the critical factors, of course, have been to making the success of this program has been there's a financial commitment. So, sometimes in some organizations they've struggled with staffing and with getting people in the room. And so that's been a bit of a challenge in some locations. But there is a financial commitment there, and sometimes, depending upon, the state of affairs, that may be a bit of a hard sell. But, when we started this journey, the commitment was there to have staff there and have them covered, and so we've kept up our part of that. Also, the project team has to work together. And so it's, like I said, it's important to have the people in the room, but also to have them doing meaningful work when they're in the room. And then we needed the buy-in from NSGEU, which we've had, and they've continued on the path with us, and that has been successful. So the executive locally within our facility, our president of the union, sits on the results team. And he sits on the committees as well. So that has been effective. And local management within the facility, we have all said, this is our commitment, and we have to be there. So those are some of the reasons that this process has been working for us. So we're like 2 years into the process, and we've made many gains. We have created a lot of tools that have been effective in preventing some staff injury and also for having staff feel better equipped to deal with things. It has alleviated some of the anxiety staff have because they feel that their safety has been a concern and that people do care about safety within the facility. So that has certainly helped with morale within the building. And so we still have ways to go. The JOSH committee, we did a terms of reference. And so the JOSH committees within the facilities are working much more effectively, which means that issues within the facilities are getting addressed more effectively. So therefore, we've made gains on many levels, and some of the things we're still working on is our hazard identification committee and also on incident investigation. So we're into this process, we're committed, and we're continuing the journey, and that's where we are at this point.
When conducting a round on the living unit, pay attention to detail, be thorough and be meticulous. Ensure that all doors in the living unit are firmly secured. Ensure electronic rounds are completed at all designated areas. Inspect all showers in the living unit. Ensure that all doors and meal slots are firmly locked and secured. Check all lights and windows in the cells. Be systematic and methodical in all your cell checks. Ensure that all areas in the cell are in order and safe. Ensure that all maintenance access points are secure and have not been tampered with in any way. Maintain a systematic approach to detail. View all areas within the cell. Be mindful that all shower areas can create slip-fall hazards. Pay particular attention near stairwells. All stairways must be clear of obstructions. Check all telephones and signage on the living unit. Look for signs of damage and tampering. Ensure that all showers are in perfect order. Work your way from the top to the bottom. If an offender appears to be sleeping, look for signs of life. Watch for his chest to rise and fall. Check the lights, check the smoke detectors, check the cell windows, check both bunks. Be thorough. Be systematic. And be curious.
Joan, will you sweep the blocker down in the window?
I'm on the toilet, man.
Yeah, you know the rules, so the blocker has to stay out of the window.
The blocker come there and on the toilet, so it is, bud.
Officer Louis, can you assist me in cell 8, please?
I said I'll be 5 minutes.
Joan just has this blocker up in his window. I'll take you back. I'm just going to go in with it.
free to patrol, you will be on a solid.
It's off, please.
Thank you. I'll take paper. I'll take the one on your desk, please.
Already that one.
You want to read it when you put it in your window.
Whatever.
Thank you very much. I'm going to get you to sit on your bunk for me. Take the blocker out of your window as well. You too, Jen.
Anything else?
No?
Arbuckle, I need you to roll over and show me your face.
Why?
Because. Step out of the cell.
It's always you, board. Every day.
If the living unit has a kitchen area, this too must be checked thoroughly during each and every round. Check the dishwasher, check the microwave, ensure the glass plate is present in the microwave. Be thorough in all your checks. And complete the electronic round in the kitchen area. Be systematic with all your checks. Be curious. Don't forget to check the recycling areas for any contraband. Again, check each and every shower on the living unit. Check all the telephones. Check all the signage. Report any issues you may find. And be thorough. The round is not complete without a check of the common area. Look for signs of damage to the common area. Look for any contraband that may be hidden in the common area. Pay attention to detail. Ensure that your workstation and the area that you're working in is safe for offenders and for staff. Upon the completion of each and every round, document your round in the living unit logbook. Enter the time, date, and the name of the officer completing the round. Be concise, be methodical, be curious.
So that may have been a little more of a glimpse into corrections than you wanted. But that is one of the videos that was created. And so a lot of times we focus on the training of staff in security-related issues. But then this goes to show that we also are doing some training in the safety aspect as well. So they did an excellent job of that, and we've shared it amongst the facilities, and so that's been beneficial to all. So that's our journey. I don't know if anyone has any questions that they wanted to ask, or I don't want to mess up your time frames, but. This is the goal. Yes.
What was the key to achieving 100%?
Yeah. So we just really communicated it at every point to getting everyone to, so it was basically told that, everyone is to complete this survey, and that came from management. So we would have each of the captains on their shift. We would say to them, ensure you get your staff to complete them. And then we had the executive from the union on board as well. And so when they had union meetings, they would say, this process is a partnership, and this has been endorsed by NSGEU at the top levels. So it's important that you contribute, because it is meant, and it was said, be honest. It's not to say that everything's great, because if everything's not great, then nothing's going to change unless you tell us what's wrong. So, they were told to be as brutally honest as they could be from the union and from management, because we said at the end of the day, if we're going to make this a better workplace for everybody, then we need to know where we start working and what's the most important things to focus on. So I think everybody working together and just drilling it home, and not that it was, do you want to fill out this survey? You have to fill out this survey. And it was, it was a strong message that was sent from everyone. And then the committee members. So all the members on the committee, they went around as well, and they were champions of the process. So they were going around and saying to their coworkers, did you fill out the survey? No. Well, here it is. Passing it to them and saying, fill this out and give it back to me. And then there's an accountability because, you know, it's almost like you've kind of committed to doing something because they've asked you and they want it back. So that kind of put the onus on the employees as well. Okay.
You can talk about it amongst yourselves in a moment.